You wake up every morning and you stand at the threshold of a battlefield, not a battlefield of flesh and bone, not one marked by blood on the ground, but a battlefield of the mind, the will, the heart. Before your feet ever touch the floor, before your eyes fully open, before the world has had a chance to shout its demands at you, the war has already begun, and most people lose it before they even know they were fighting. They surrender in their thoughts, they bow in their desires, they yield their discipline to comfort, to fear, to laziness, to the tyranny of feeling. They say, I don't feel ready, I don't feel strong, I don't feel motivated. And so their feelings become their master, and they become servants to the weakest ruler imaginable. You must understand this with sobering clarity. The morning does not belong to the strong in body, but to the strong in mind. The morning does not yield its power to those who wait for inspiration, but to those who command themselves. Mind over matter is not a slogan to be printed on a poster and forgotten. It is a law of life, as real as gravity. Either you rule your mind, or your mind will rule you. Either you tell your body what it will do, or your body will tell you what it will not do. There is no neutral ground here. There is no middle position where you drift safely. You are either mastering the morning, or the morning is mastering you. Most people wake up as victims. They open their eyes, and immediately they are overwhelmed by yesterday's failures, by today's anxieties, by tomorrow's uncertainties. Their first thoughts are not deliberate. They are accidental. Their minds are not directed. They are assaulted. And so before the day has even begun, they are already exhausted, already defeated, already excusing themselves. They say, this is just how I am. No, this is how you have trained yourself to be, and what has been trained can be retrained, but only through violence against complacency. You must come to grips with a truth that is offensive to the undisciplined heart. You are far more capable than you allow yourself to be, and far more responsible than you want to admit. The problem is not a lack of ability, it is a lack of resolve. The problem is not that the task is too great, it is that your will has been coddled. You have listened too long to the voice that whispers comfort and calls it wisdom. You have obeyed the voice that says, just a little more sleep, just a little more ease, just a little less effort. And every time you obey that voice, it grows stronger, and you grow weaker. Morning mastery begins with an uncompromising decision. You will not be ruled by impulse. You will not negotiate with your lower nature. When the alarm sounds, that is not a suggestion. It is a command. When your body says, stay, your mind must say, get up. Not because you feel like it, not because it is pleasant, but because it is right. Discipline is not born from emotion. It is born from conviction, and conviction does not wait for comfort. It acts in spite of discomfort. There is something profoundly wrong with a generation that believes productivity begins when motivation arrives. Motivation is a servant, not a master. If you wait for it, you will wait forever. The disciplined person acts first, and motivation follows. The strong mind does not ask, how do I feel? It asks, what must be done? And then it does it, even while every emotion screams in protest. That is mind over matter, that is mastery. Understand this. Your body is a magnificent servant, but a terrible master. It will seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy at all costs. Left unchecked, it will lead you into mediocrity with a smile on its face. Your mind, when trained, must stand above it and say, you will obey. Not harshly, not cruelly, but firmly, with authority. Just as a wise leader does not ask permission from chaos, you do not ask permission from your appetites. The morning is sacred ground because it sets the tone for everything that follows. A conquered morning produces a conquered day. A surrendered morning produces a surrendered life. When you rise with intention, When you seize those first moments and bend them to purpose, you are declaring something to yourself. I am not ruled by circumstance. I am not ruled by mood. I am not ruled by fear. And that declaration, repeated day after day, reshapes the inner man. But let us be honest, because honesty is the beginning of transformation. The reason most people do not master their mornings is not because they cannot. It is because they will not. They love comfort more than they love growth. They love ease more than excellence. And so they build a theology of excuses, a philosophy of delay. They call it balance. They call it self-care. But in truth, it is self-indulgence wearing a respectable mask. Do not misunderstand me. The call to discipline is not a call to brutality or pride. It is a call to stewardship. You have been given a mind, a body, time, and opportunity, and you will give an account for how you use them. Every morning is a gift, and every gift carries responsibility. To waste it is not merely unfortunate. It is wrong. And when you begin to see your mornings through that lens, trivial excuses lose their power. You must learn to preach to yourself before the world preaches to you. The world will tell you that you are defined by your past. You must tell yourself that you are defined by your choices today. The world will tell you that rest is found in escape. You must tell yourself that rest is found in order. The world will tell you that discipline is oppression. You must tell yourself that discipline is freedom. The undisciplined person is not free. He is enslaved to his impulses. The disciplined person has authority over himself, and that is the highest form of human rule. Mind over matter is forged in the quiet, unseen moments. No one applauds when you get out of bed early. No one cheers when you choose focus over distraction. No one hands you a medal for resisting the urge to quit, and that is precisely why it matters. Character is revealed when there is no audience. Mastery is proven when there is no reward except the knowledge that you did what was right. You will fail in this. Let us remove all illusions. There will be mornings when you lose the battle. There will be days when your resolve crumbles and you fall back into old patterns. The weak person uses failure as an excuse to abandon the fight. The strong person uses failure as a teacher. He does not wallow. He does not justify. He repents, he recalibrates, and he rises again. Consistency is not the absence of failure. It is the refusal to surrender. Do not romanticize the struggle, but do not fear it either. Struggle is the forge where strength is formed. The mind that has never been challenged remains soft, easily bent by pressure. The will that has never been tested collapses at the first sign of resistance. When you force yourself to act against your feelings, you are strengthening something far more important than comfort. You are strengthening command over self. The morning will expose what you truly believe. If you believe your life has purpose, you will rise to meet it. If you believe your time matters, you will guard it. If you believe you are accountable, you will act accordingly. But if deep down you believe nothing truly matters, then no amount of technique will save you. Mastery begins with meaning. You must be convinced that your life is not an accident, that your days are not random, that your actions are not insignificant. Do not aim merely to be productive. Aim to be governed. Productivity without discipline can still be chaotic. Discipline brings order, and order brings peace. There is a quiet strength in a life that is ordered, in a mind that knows its priorities, in a morning that is not rushed but commanded. When you know what you will do before the day begins, the day loses its power to intimidate you. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. Thoughts are visitors, not kings. You choose which ones you entertain and which ones you cast out. When doubt arrives in the morning, you do not invite it to sit down and stay a while. You confront it. When fear speaks, you do not listen passively. You answer it with truth. When apathy knocks, you do not open the door. This is not positive thinking. This is disciplined thinking. The greatest enemy of morning mastery is not fatigue, it is distraction. A distracted mind is a divided mind, and a divided mind is powerless. You must learn to be ruthless with anything that fragments your attention. Not everything that is permissible is beneficial. Not everything that is enjoyable is worth your time. Mastery requires sacrifice, and sacrifice always feels costly in the moment, but its rewards are lasting. As you train yourself in this, something remarkable begins to happen. The mornings that once felt heavy begin to feel purposeful. The discipline that once felt restrictive begins to feel liberating. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to know that when you say you will do something, it will be done, and that self-trust is not arrogance, it is integrity. Do not underestimate the cumulative power of small, disciplined acts. A single morning may seem insignificant, but mornings stack and habits compound. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are eventually. The life you admire is not built in a moment of inspiration. It is built in thousands of ordinary mornings where someone chose to govern themselves rather than indulge themselves. If you are waiting for life to become easier before you become disciplined, you have already lost. Life does not yield to passivity. It yields to force of will, rightly ordered and consistently applied. You must decide that regardless of how you feel, regardless of what yesterday looked like, regardless of what obstacles stand before you, you will rise and take responsibility for the day you have been given. This is not about becoming impressive in the eyes of others. It is about becoming faithful to what you know is right. It is about standing before your own conscience at the end of the day without shame. When you master your mornings, you are not merely improving your schedule. You are shaping your soul. You are declaring, day after day, that you will live deliberately, not accidentally, that you will lead yourself before attempting to lead anything else. And so tomorrow morning, when the alarm sounds and every comfort urges you to delay, remember this. That moment is a test, and how you respond to it reveals more about you than any grand ambition ever could. In that quiet, ordinary moment, the war is won or lost. The mind either rises above the matter or bows beneath it, and the trajectory of the day is set by the courage to act when no one is watching, and nothing feels easy. Mastery does not begin when you feel ready. It does not arrive with a surge of emotion, a sudden burst of enthusiasm, or a fleeting sense of inspiration. Mastery begins when you decide who will rule you. That decision is not emotional, it is moral. It is a declaration of authority within your own life. Self-governance is the foundation upon which all lasting strength is built, and without it, motivation becomes nothing more than a passing illusion that rises and falls with circumstances. Motivation is unreliable because it is rooted in feeling, and feelings are unstable by nature. They change with sleep, with stress, with weather, with success and failure. If you allow your actions to be dictated by how you feel, then you have surrendered control of your life to the most inconsistent force within you. The person who waits to feel motivated has already chosen weakness, even if they do not realize it. They have placed their obedience in the hands of comfort, and comfort is a cruel master that never demands growth and never produces strength. Self-governance begins with the recognition that you are not entitled to ease. You are responsible for obedience to what you know is right. This is where most people retreat. They want the rewards of discipline without the weight of responsibility. They want the fruit without the labor, the strength without the struggle. But mastery demands something far more costly than desire. It demands submission of the will. You must decide, before the moment of resistance comes, that you will act according to principle rather than preference. The disciplined life is not driven by excitement, but by command. You do not ask yourself how you feel about the task. You tell yourself what must be done. This internal authority is not harsh, but it is uncompromising. A person who governs himself does not negotiate with weakness. He does not debate with laziness. He does not entertain excuses as though they are reasonable counsel. He recognizes them for what they are, attempts to dethrone discipline and install comfort as king. There is a deep misconception that self-governance is oppressive, that it strips life of joy and freedom. In truth, the opposite is always proven. The person who lacks self-governance is enslaved. He is dragged by appetite, controlled by distraction, and ruled by impulse. He may believe himself free because no one tells him what to do, but he is bound by everything he refuses to control. True freedom is not the absence of restraint. It is the presence of order, and order only exists where there is governance. Mastery requires that you separate identity from emotion. You are not what you feel. You are not your fatigue, your fear, or your lack of desire. Feelings are responses, not rulers. When you allow emotion to define your behavior, you shrink your identity to the smallest and weakest part of yourself. Self-governance demands that you act from conviction, not impulse. Conviction is rooted in truth, and truth does not change with mood. The greatest battles are fought in silence, long before anyone sees the outcome. The moment when you choose discipline over delay, obedience over indulgence, resolve over retreat, that is where mastery is formed. No applause accompanies these decisions, no recognition follows, and yet these are the moments that determine the direction of a life. Motivation seeks reward, self-governance accepts duty, motivation asks what it will gain, self-governance asks what is required. The tragedy of modern thinking is that it elevates motivation as the highest virtue. People are taught to wait until they feel inspired, as though inspiration is a reliable guide. But inspiration does not build character. It excites the mind for a moment and leaves it unchanged. Character is built when you act without inspiration, when you do what is right simply because it is right. That is the kind of strength that endures pressure and survives adversity. Self-governance requires clarity of purpose. You cannot rule yourself if you do not know what you are ruling yourself toward. A life without defined values will always drift toward comfort. You must determine, with sober honesty, what matters most and align your actions accordingly. Every time you act against your values for the sake of ease, you weaken your authority over yourself. Every time you act in alignment with them, you reinforce it. There is no neutrality in this struggle. Each decision either strengthens your command or undermines it. Each act of obedience makes the next act easier, not because it requires less effort, but because your will becomes trained. The disciplined person does not have fewer desires, he has stronger governance. He feels resistance, but he does not obey it. He acknowledges discomfort, but he does not surrender to it. Self-governance also demands accountability. You must stop blaming circumstances, people, or past experiences for present disobedience. While many things influence you, nothing ultimately controls you except what you allow. Responsibility is not about condemning yourself, it is about reclaiming authority. When you accept responsibility, you are no longer a victim of life, but a steward of it. There will be moments when your mind is foggy, your body heavy, and your emotions uncooperative. These moments reveal the difference between those who are governed and those who are not. The self-governed individual does not wait for ideal conditions. He acts faithfully in imperfect ones. He understands that consistency is forged in resistance, not in ease. Failure will come, and when it does, motivation will flee. Self-governance remains. The person ruled by motivation collapses under failure because his drive was dependent on success. The self-governed person absorbs failure, learns from it, and continues forward without drama. He does not redefine his commitment based on outcomes. He remains obedient to the process. You must understand that self-governance is not an event, but a posture. It is the continual choice to lead yourself rather than abandon yourself. It is the refusal to live reactively. It is the daily submission of impulse to principle. This posture transforms ordinary actions into formative ones. Getting up when you do not want to, focusing when distraction is easier, remaining faithful when quitting would be simpler, these are not small acts. They are declarations of authority. Over time, something profound occurs. You begin to trust yourself, not in a shallow sense, but in a deeply rooted way. You know that when you commit, you will follow through. That trust becomes a stabilizing force in your life. It quiets anxiety, reduces chaos, and strengthens resolve. This is not self-confidence built on ego, but self-confidence built on integrity. Motivation can ignite a moment, but only self-governance can sustain a life. Motivation fluctuates, governance endures. Motivation depends on external stimulus. Governance flows from internal conviction. One is reactive, the other is deliberate. One fades, the other compounds. If you desire mastery, you must stop waiting for the emotional permission to act. You must decide that obedience does not require excitement, that discipline does not need encouragement, and that responsibility does not negotiate with desire. The governed life is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is steady, resilient, and unshakable. The moment you choose self-governance over motivation, you step into authority. You cease being controlled by what is easiest and begin being shaped by what is right. That choice, repeated daily, forms a life that stands firm regardless of feeling, circumstance, or pressure.